Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Really short video today, quick and dirty. I got these two John Deere lawn tractors. I'm going to do an oil change on them because it hasn't been done in a long time. So, it's going to be fun. Let's do it. Alright, so if you don't have a drain pan like that, I highly suggest it. Pretty handy for all this kind of stuff. The drain for these little John Deeres is that little black cap right there. Kind of a pain, but it is what it is. They're easy to get off, but the problem is you always end up with oil all over the top of that frame rail. And it's messy, it drips on the inside, it drips on the outside. So what I'm going to do this time is jack up the left-hand side of the tractor to try to avoid that situation, get all the oil to come out cleanly. We'll move that wire out of the way and get this thing drained out. So I just unplugged that headlight wire and just moved it out of the way. I just jacked this thing up on the side of the mower deck. I'm sure somebody's going to complain about that, but it's not going to hurt anything. So I'm just going to undo that cap now and let the oil drain out. And there we go. Draining down into the bucket. So you can see what these look like on the John Deere. There's a little O-ring in there. You have those two, there's a little post on each side that stands up. And that's what the caps look like. I don't know if that's difficult to see or not, but a push and a twist on that lid. And that's the only thing keeping the oil in the sump on these little John Deere tractors. So we'll let that drain for a bit. So there's the filters. It's a Briggs & Stratton filter. Genuine part number 492932S, high capacity oil filter. Got a little ding in the side, but that's fine. And there's another number there. Charlie 2 Golf 9. I don't know what that means, but that's what's going in. Man, tipping that tractor up on its side worked awesome. A little bit of spillage on the floor, that's my fault, but not a single drop on that frame rail. And arguably you're getting more out of the machine by tipping it up on its side anyway. So we can hope. I'm pretty happy with the amount that's dripping now. The oil filter's on the other side. I may jack it up on this side and do the opposite. Right. Well, I apologize if it's a little dark over here, but there's the oil filter. Yeah, that's pretty dark. That's all right. Be tough to avoid getting oil on the frame rail here, but at least when it hits the frame rail, it should run off the outside, which will be a lot easier to clean up. I'm going to get a trouble light for you guys, and we'll get this old filter off. There, that makes it a little easier to see where that filter is. See if I can spin that off by hand. Probably have to get an oil filter wrench. There we go. Let's see if there's a way to get this on here. That'll do it. So the filter that I'm taking off, it's hard for me to read the sticker, but it looks like Alpha Mike 125424 Charlie. It's an actual John Deere filter. So let me grab my drain pan. You see what I mean about the oil coming down on top of that frame rail and making a mess. And there we go. We'll clean up the face there. Oftentimes the smart thing to do is to make sure that the old piece of gasket or the old rubber gasket from the oil filter hasn't stayed stuck to the block, because what ends up happening is you have two gaskets and there's more of a chance that it'll leak. Alright, grab the new filter. I'll put a bit of new oil on the gasket of the new filter before I put it on. If this filter could be spun onto the engine in an orientation like that, then sometimes it would make sense to, well, all the time it would make sense to fill this with oil ahead of time. By doing that, it makes sure that the engine will start to see oil pressure sooner after starting the machine. I don't really worry about it on this. It tends to make more of a mess than anything else. So I just I wet the O-ring with some new oil and we'll spin it back on. So you only need to hand tighten these. I know different people are stronger, some people are weaker. Just put it on by hand and run it and look for leaks. If it leaks, get somebody stronger to tighten it up by hand, or use a filter wrench and just tighten it a little bit. Don't worry about it. All right. We will lower this tractor to the ground, fill it up with oil, and move on to the other tractor. This tractor is an L120, by the way, and the other one is an LA140. I will put the correct oil specifications up on the screen for you guys so you can see exactly what it is that you should put in these tractors. Alright, now that I've got that filled up with oil, I am going to run it for a few minutes because don't forget the oil filter is still empty, so inevitably I will have to put a little bit more oil in this to get it to the full mark after I'm done. So we'll let it run for a bit and we'll check the level, top it up. All right, moving on to the LA140. I just put a gas tank in this machine. I'll link to that video. And I also replaced the controls for throttle and choke because on the old one, I had a crack right down there in the orange handle. So that's a good video to watch if you want to. All right, I'm gonna jack the side of this guy up just like the L120. We'll do this one as well. Let's bring you guys in for a closer look on this one. So I'm going to move this wire out of the way again. That's the wire that runs the headlights on this tractor. tuck it in behind your HST pedal. There's our drain port. A little turn, and then you should just be able to pull straight out on it. Keep your bucket as close as you can. There you go. Didn't spill a drop that time. If you want to, you can remove the oil fill cap, or not, because it'll come out faster and spill off the side. But by removing the cap, it allows the air to get into the crankcase to replace the volume of oil you're draining from the bottom. If you leave the cap on, you are essentially creating a vacuum inside the crankcase, which is not a big deal. It just means it'll drain really slowly. That's kind of funny that I started draining this one and I said, oh look, I didn't spill a drop. And then when I pull the cap off, it spills all over the floor. Hilarious YouTube moment. It's funny, I've been putting these tractors in and out of service for 2 or 3 winters now, and for some reason this spring this machine's running really good. I don't even need to give it any throttle to start it when it's cold. I just choke it up and it seems to fire up right away. I don't know what's going on. It's interesting though. We'll let that drip for a little bit. Alright, that's pretty good for me. Make sure that O-ring's in good condition. Put the cap back on. Little twist. Dump this oil into my larger pan. Alright, we got that drained out. We'll lower the jack. We'll jack up the other side and change the filter. You want to watch again. Let's get you set up. Alright, let's get those pliers again and loosen that off. Let's see if I can read this part number off to you guys before I trash it with the pliers. Yeah, Alpha Mike 125424 Charlie, John Deere part number. It's not so bad having the oil drip all over the frame as long as it comes to the outside of the frame rail only. If it gets to the inside, ugh, it's such a mess. Alright, that has dripped enough. Clean off the oil filter sealing face on the side of the block. There's no O-ring stuck to the machine. So, put a little bit of oil on my rag here, off camera, so that I can smear it onto the gasket on the new oil filter. Nice and shiny. We'll thread that on. Hand tight. All right, lower the tractor, fill it up. All right, let's start it up. Now it won't start. So what's happening there is when you push the brake pedal, there's a lever underneath the battery that pushes on a switch, on a safety switch. If that safety switch is open, it will not start. For some reason, when I have the brake on, it's not closing that safety switch to complete the circuit and allow the tractor to start. It's happened before. I have to reach in and kind of flick the switch a little bit to try to figure it out. Maybe there's some adjustability in that. Maybe the mounting holes for the sensor are on some elongated slots or something and I can move it. It's something I'm going to have to look at because this has given me problems before. Okay, so now that the L120 has been sitting, I'm going to check the oil and top it up if need be. And then we'll check the oil level on the LA140, see if that needs to be topped up. So I added just a little bit to both tractors just to bring it back up to the full line. After you start a machine for the first time, you're going to lose a little bit of oil into the filter. So you got to check to make sure that it's filled up still to the top of the full line after you shut the machine off for the first time. All right guys, well there you go. Quick little video for you. Changing the oil on a 100 series John Deere lawn tractor, quick and dirty. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. You can follow me on Instagram at killingitcountry. Please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps out the smaller channels. That's all I got for you today. We'll see you in the next one.